All right, so you guys send us some seriously cool research about metabolic networks,
Yeah.
and we're going to take a deep dive into the hidden geometry that makes these super intricate systems work.
Very cool.
You can think of it kind of like a map of every chemical reaction that's happening inside of a cell.
Okay.
You know, thousands of molecules just doing this elaborate dance.
Yeah.
But what's really crazy is that this like seemingly chaotic system
Right.
actually follows a surprisingly simple geometric pattern.
Interesting.
So that is, according to the research paper called Uncovering the Hidden Geometry Behind Metabolic Networks,
Oh,
which we're going to break down today.
I love that.
So
That's a good one.
what's really fascinating about this whole approach is that we're going beyond just like, listing out reactions.
Right.
We're actually seeing the underlying structure,
Yeah.
the elegant blueprint that kind of governs how these molecules interact.
I think that's a great way to put it.
So how do we even begin to visualize something as complex as a metabolic network?
Well,
Like, what does geometry have to do with any of this?
well, researchers have been using this concept called a bipartite network
Okay.
to represent these complex interactions.
Okay.
So imagine a graph where you have two types of nodes.
Mhm.
One represents metabolites,
Okay.
the molecules themselves,
Okay.
and the other represents the reactions they're involved in.
Gotcha. So instead of every molecule being connected to every other molecule, we're really focusing on the metabolites connecting to those specific reactions.
Exactly. And that simplification makes the network a whole lot easier to handle.
Okay.
But now
That-
here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
They mapped this bipartite network onto a circle,
A circle.
a very simple geometric shape.
I mean, a cell is like incredibly complex.
It is.
Can we really capture all of that
Yeah.
with something as simple as a circle?
Yeah, you'd be surprised.
Okay.
They assign each metabolite and reaction a position on the circle based on its probability of being connected. And the really amazing thing is that both E. coli and human metabolic networks can be accurately represented using the same circular model with similar parameters.
Wait, so you're saying the metabolic map of like a simple bacterium
Yes.
and a complex human cell, they both fit onto this circle?
They do.
That just seems mind-blowing.
It is.
It's like finding a universal language for cellular processing.
Yeah, and it suggests a fundamental principle at play.
Right.
You know, a blueprint that transcends the complexity of different organisms.
Wow.
What's even more intriguing is that the distribution of metabolites and reactions on this circle isn't random.
Okay.
It's not uniform. It reflects the hierarchical structure of metabolic networks.
So it's not just about fitting everything onto a circle.
Right.
It's about like where those things are placed.
Exactly.
And that placement tells us something about how these networks actually function.
Exactly. The circular map is like a window
Okay.
into how metabolic processes are organized and how they communicate with each other.
So fancy.
And this leads us to rethink our traditional understanding of biochemical pathways.
You mean the idea of pathways being these like neat linear chains of reactions?
Exactly.
Okay.
We tend to think of pathways as these isolated assembly lines, each with a specific job.
Yeah.
But the circular map challenges that view.
So it's more of like an interconnected web than a series of separate lines.
Precisely. Some pathways are indeed clustered together on the circle,
Okay.
supporting the traditional modular view.
Yeah.
But others are spread out all over the map,
Interesting.
indicating a much more intricate and interconnected structure. And this crosstalk between pathways
Ooh, I like that crosstalk.
is crucial for a cell's ability to adapt and thrive.
Yeah, it's as if the pathways are having a conversation,
Yeah,
influencing each other and coordinating their actions.
totally.
So how did the researchers actually measure this crosstalk?
Well,
Did they like develop some kind of cellular eavesdropping device?
not quite,
Yeah.
but they were able to use the circular map to quantify the interactions between pathways. Okay. Creating a network of pathways where the strength of the connection reflects the degree of crosstalk.
Oh, so it's like a network of networks.
Yes.
A meta-network.
It is.
And what did this reveal about how these pathways are interacting?
This is where we uncover a fascinating structure within the metabolic network, something the researchers call the metabolic backbone.
A backbone. So this is like a central support system that's holding the whole network together.
Exactly. It's like the skeleton of the metabolic system.
Okay.
This backbone consists of the most statistically significant interactions between pathways.
Okay.
So it's filtering out the noise and highlighting the key players.
So these are the pathways that are essential for a cell's survival,
Right.
the ones that keep everything running smoothly.
Yeah.
And I bet visualizing this backbone reveals even more about how the network operates.
You bet they found striking visual patterns.
Like what?
For instance, certain pathways act as hubs, connecting to a multitude of other pathways, while others have fewer connections and play more specialized roles.
So it's like a bustling city.
Yeah.
With a central transportation hub like Grand Central Station.
Exactly.
And then smaller, more specialized neighborhoods branching out.
Right.
And just like a well-designed city. The cell relies on this interconnectedness for efficient operation.
Exactly.
But I have a feeling there's more to the story.
There is.
What else can we glean from this research?
Well, the implications are profound.
Okay.
This new understanding of metabolic networks can lead to a deeper understanding of how cells function and respond to change, which is crucial for developing new therapies and treatments. Right. But that's not all.
What else?
This paper also delves into a deeper concept.
Okay.
Chemical affinity.
Ooh.
It's a measure of how readily a reaction occurs.
Okay.
And this research suggests a new way to define it based on network probabilities and geometric distances on that circular map.
Wait, so the position of a reaction on the circle can actually tell us how likely it is to happen?
That's the remarkable insight.
Wow.
It suggests that the underlying geometry of the network is intricately linked to the fundamental forces that drive cellular processes.
It's like the map itself holds the secrets to the cell's energy flow.
It does.
Wow, we've covered a lot of ground already. From visualizing metabolic networks as a circle, to rethinking pathways, and now even this new perspective on chemical affinity.
Yeah.
I'm eager to learn more about this in part 2 of our deep dive.
Yeah, me too. Welcome back to our deep dive into the hidden geometry of metabolic networks.
So before we jump into chemical affinity, I'm still blown away by the idea that these pathways aren't just like isolated assembly lines.
Right.
They're really engaged in this like intricate crosstalk.
Yes.
As if they're having a conversation with each other.
It really is a paradigm shift.
It is.
And it's beautifully illustrated by how this circular map helps us visualize the structure of different pathways. Remember, each reaction has a designated spot on the circle based on its connection probabilities.
Like our metabolic subway map.
Exactly.
So if a pathway is like a series of those reactions, would that mean it looks like a chain that's strung along the circumference of the circle?
Exactly. A traditional modular pathway would be neatly clustered in a small arc of the circle. But then you have pathways whose reactions are scattered all over the circle. Suggesting a more complex interplay with other pathways.
That's a great visual.
Yeah.
So some pathways are like well-defined neighborhoods, while others are weaving all over the map, like a subway line that traverses the entire city.
Exactly.
Did the researchers find any specific examples of this pathway diversity in their analysis?
Absolutely. They looked at both E. coli and human cells and found some striking differences.
Oh, cool.
In E. coli, the folate pathway is highly localized on the circle, suggesting it operates as a more self-contained unit.
So the folate pathway is keeping to itself, doing its own thing.
Right.
What about a pathway that's more spread out?
Well, the glycolysis pathway is a great example.
Okay.
Its reactions are distributed in multiple peaks across the circle.
Interesting.
Indicating it's interacting with many other pathways.
So glycolysis is more of a social butterfly mingling with the whole metabolic network.
A very apt analogy.
I try.
And then you have pathways like the cofactor and prosthetic group biosynthesis pathway, which are even more dispersed, almost like a background hum across the entire network.
It sounds like there's a hierarchy of pathways.
There is.
From these like isolated specialists to the highly interconnected generalists.
Yeah.
Did the researchers find similar patterns in human cells?
They did, but with an interesting twist.
Okay.
Human metabolic pathways tend to be even more localized than in E. coli.
Really? That seems counterintuitive.
It does.
I would have thought a more complex organism like a human would have a more complex metabolic network.
It does seem surprising.
Yeah.
But that's what the data suggests.
Wow.
It could reflect the specialization of different cell types in the human body. Each cell type might have its own unique set of metabolic demands, leading to more modular pathways.
So different cells have their own metabolic neighborhoods tailored to their specific needs.
Exactly.
But you mentioned a twist.
I did.
What?
While human pathways are more localized, they're also more intertwined with different metabolic families.
Okay.
Broad categories of metabolic processes.
Like what?
Like carbohydrate or lipid metabolism.
Gotcha.
Think of them like different departments in a company,
Okay.
each handling a specific aspect of the business.
So different departments.
Yeah,
But they still need to communicate and coordinate with each other
exactly.
for the company to function
Right.
effectively.
And in human cells, these different departments are more interconnected,
Okay.
even though the individual pathways within them are more specialized.
It's interesting.
It's like a network of specialized teams, each with its own expertise,
Yeah.
but working together seamlessly.
I like that.
This complex interplay likely contributes to the incredible adaptability and resilience of human cells.
So fascinating.
It is.
Okay, so before we move on, I want to circle back to this concept of the metabolic backbone.
Sure.
What else did the researchers discover about this central support system?
Remember, the metabolic backbone highlights the most statistically significant interactions between pathways.
Right.
When the researchers visualized it, they noticed striking patterns,
Like what?
particularly star-like structures,
Okay.
where certain pathways acted as hubs, connecting to numerous other pathways.
So some pathways are like the main transportation hubs of the metabolic city.
Yes.
With lots of traffic flowing through them.
Exactly.
What are some examples of these hub pathways?
In E. coli, the cofactor and prosthetic group biosynthesis pathway is a major hub.
Okay.
It connects to many amino acid pathways, energy metabolism, and nucleotide metabolism.
It sounds like the central processing unit of the cell,
It does.
handling essential components for various processes.
Yeah.
What about in human cells?
Pathways like folate metabolism and fatty acid oxidation act as hubs in human cells,
Okay.
connecting a diverse range of metabolic pathways.
These hub pathways sound crucial
They are.
for the cell's overall function.
They are?
What would happen if they malfunctioned?
That's a critical question.
Yeah.
Disruptions to these hub pathways could have cascading effects throughout the entire network, potentially leading to a variety of health problems.
That makes sense.
This highlights the potential of this research for understanding diseases
Okay.
and developing new treatment strategies.
So this research isn't just about abstract geometry.
Right.
It has direct implications for our health and well-being.
It does.
But I have a feeling we're not done with this circular map yet.
We're not.
What other insights can it provide?
This brings us to that intriguing concept we touched on earlier.
Yes.
Chemical affinity.
Okay, it's not just about mapping the reactions,
right.
but also about understanding the forces that drive them.
Exact.
And this research suggests a new way to define chemical affinity,
Yes.
using the very structure of the metabolic network.
Uh-huh.
Now that's what I call a cliffhanger.
It is a good one.
I can't wait to unpack this concept of chemical affinity in the next part of our deep dive.
Me too.
Welcome back to the deep dive.
So we've been exploring this really intricate world of metabolic networks.
Yeah.
You know, from visualizing them as a circle to like rethinking how pathways are interacting.
That's fascinating.
And now we're finally going to tackle this concept of chemical affinity.
Yes, chemical affinity is really at the heart of what makes these reactions happen, you
Yeah.
know, the driving force behind these cellular transformations.
I remember from chemistry class that chemical affinity has something to do with energy.
Yeah.
Can you like remind me how that all works?
Sure. So traditionally, chemical affinity has been defined based on like the energy difference
Okay.
between reactants and product.
Okay.
So if the products have lower energy than the reactants, the reaction is more likely to proceed.
Okay.
Think of it like a ball rolling downhill.
Right.
It naturally moves towards a lower energy state.
Okay, that makes sense. But you mentioned this research suggests like a new way to define chemical affinity.
Right.
What's different about their approach?
But what's really exciting is that this research links chemical affinity to the structure of the metabolic network itself.
Okay.
Remember that circular map where every like metabolite and reaction has its own location?
Yes, our trusty metabolic subway map.
Exactly. Well, this research suggests that the distance between a metabolite and a reaction on that map
Okay.
is related to their probability of interacting.
So the closer they are on the map,
Yes.
the more likely they are to actually react.
Exactly. It's like the map encodes information about which molecules are most likely to find each other
Yeah.
and react.
That's so cool.
And this probability of interaction in turn
Yeah.
is connected to chemical affinity.
The researchers propose that we can actually infer the driving force of a reaction
Wow.
based on its location on this circular map.
That's amazing. So it's like the map itself is revealing the hidden energy landscape of the cell.
It is.
I can see which reactions are energetically favorable just by like looking at their position on the map.
It's a remarkably elegant concept.
Yeah.
And it opens up some really exciting possibilities for understanding how cells regulate their metabolism,
Okay.
how they allocate resources, and how they respond to changes in their environment.
This is such a powerful idea.
It is.
It makes me wonder if we could use this map to predict how a cell will react to a specific drug or a nutrient.
That's a great question, and it's definitely an area of active research.
Cool. So.
If we can understand how the geometry of the network relates to chemical affinity,
Yeah.
we could potentially predict how changes in the network, like introducing a drug,
Right.
will influence the flow of energy and metabolites.
Yes. It's like we're getting a glimpse into the control panel of the cell.
Yes.
Seeing how all the different processes are interconnected and regulated.
That's a great way to put it. And what's so remarkable is that it all comes back to the simple, elegant idea of visualizing the metabolic network as a circle.
It is really cool.
It's a reminder that sometimes the most complex systems can be understood through surprisingly simple principles.
This has been an incredible journey.
It has.
We've gone from a seemingly chaotic network of reactions to this beautifully organized circular map revealing hidden patterns, interconnected pathways, and even this new perspective on chemical affinity.
It's pretty amazing.
It's a testament to the power of scientific inquiry.
Absolutely.
How we can start with a simple question and end up uncovering these profound insights into the fundamental workings of life.
It really is inspiring.
It is, and it's a reminder that there's always more to discover, more layers to peel back, more mysteries to unravel.
For sure.
Who knows what other secrets are hidden within the geometry of biological systems?
I'm sure there are many.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the hidden geometry of metabolism. We hope you've enjoyed exploring these really fascinating concepts as much as we have.
It's been a pleasure.